Hi, I'm Ned, and I make games. This video is from my live stream over at twitch.tv/NedMakesGames, where I'm live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. US Eastern Time. I'd love to see you there. Okay, hey everybody, let's get started. Alright, how are you all doing tonight? I hope you're doing well. I had a pretty good weekend. It was, a little busy, but I mean, it seems like I'm always busy these days, so. But, okay, so the last couple of sessions, I've been trying to work on this flower field in Unity, and we've got it set up using a compute shader so that basically a compute shader sprouts one of these flower planes yeah, for every triangle on the terrain mesh, and it chooses which color using noise. So these different colors, excuse me, all these different colors will be different types of flowers when we get actual textures. Oh yeah, last time we were having an issue because I was trying to use a texture atlas for to have like all these colors on the same texture. So I was having an issue where when you zoom out, because of bitmaps, they kind of start to blend together. I don't know how well you can see that, but basically I feel kind of silly because there's a good way to get around that using a texture array. So yeah, I should have thought about using that in the first place, but yeah, so we'll probably switch to using a texture array at some point, but today I want to actually work on the textures, which we're going to make in Substance Designer. Hey Mad Science. Dream brought to oh no, sorry, I don't have Raycons actually. So this stream will actually be brought to you by, I guess, Substance Designer, because that's what we're going to be working in most of the day. But I'll take your word for it. Actually, I forget what brand these little headphone things are. They might be Bose actually. But so I'm kind of relatively new to Substance Designer, so sometimes I forget what the names of all the nodes are, so I do apologize if I have to look things up. But I've done a lot of research since the last stream about the best way to make like a grass card in Substance Designer. So let's see how much I can remember. But so basically, yeah, we want to start with a shape like this and turn it into like a grass shape. So we're going to try to make like a silhouette first and then add details, and then we'll compose them together into a grass texture. All part of the learning process, look up away. Well, thank you, Mad Science. Glad that you at least understand. So we have this shape node, and it's a ridged bell, which makes this kind of, I don't know, it's like a bean shape or something. And I'm gonna go ahead and shrink the X size so that it's a little skinnier. And then we'll use a transform 2D node, and this will move it down to the ground. People forget how important it is to teach people how to find answers as well. Well, that's true. I am pretty proud of my Google skills. But yeah, I mean, that is definitely true. It's why it's always funny in school how it seems like a lot of times they prioritize memorization, but in the real world you don't really have to memorize stuff super often. Okay, let me just get some exact values in there, and I'm going to turn off tiling because we only want it to pop out of the ground. And to do that, you just set the tiling mode up here to absolute, and then you set that to no tiling. Oh, except now it's we want it come out of the bottom. Yeah, Google fool, exactly. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. It's a little short, but I'm going to use something called histogram scan, which kind of takes slices out of the histogram of this shape. And so we can, if you move it up a bit and then turn the contrast up, you can see it kind of starts to turn into a leaf blade shape, but it's way too small. So here we can take the transform node and move it up. But I don't like how it shrinks at the bottom, so actually, yeah, I should probably, instead of doing this, I should, after I take I cut off the bottom half, I think I'll stretch it out before putting it into the histogram scan. And we can do blur, directional blur. And then just tell it we want it to blur upwards. So that would be 90 degrees or a quarter turn. And then just bring the intensity way up. We can tell it to preview the histogram scan so we can see what it's doing. Okay, so now I think, yeah, okay, so that's looking a bit more about what I want. I think it's looking still a bit too thick, so I'll bring down the size a bit more. Okay, that looks pretty good actually. Now what I'll do is, I think, so this point is a little too sharp, so I think I'm going to blur it and then do another histogram scan, and that has the effect of dulling that point. Why do you need a blur instead of a translating scaling the image? Well, I mean, you could scale it. To be honest, the guide I used a directional blur instead of doing another transformation. Yeah, I don't know what would. I guess we should test to see what the difference is. Okay, so if we bring this up and then set the contrast back. So you can see now it's a little bit too flattened, so I can just bring the intensity of the blur down. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. So yeah, it's just a subtle change, but I think it looks a bit more dull now. Okay, so like Mad Science brought up, let's try doing just a scale here instead of a motion blur and see how that affects the final image. Let's try stretching it, I don't know, 300%? Oh, that's the width. Oh, I see. Okay, so it scaled it, centered, it didn't like anchor it at the bottom. Okay. So yeah, the scale is too much right now because it's taking it off the image, but we can just turn down the histogram probably. Yeah, so that looks, I don't know how different it is really. Okay, well we changed this histogram, which I guess kind of defeats the purpose of testing it like that, but alright, so let's try this again, and then I'll move this back up. Okay, so here it is like that, and then yeah, it doesn't really make much difference. More performant though. So blue for shape, translation scale for position size. Oh yeah, you're probably right. I bet the blur or the transformation is probably more performant than the blur. But I don't know, performance. I don't really care about performance in this program because I'm just going to export everything to a texture. But yeah, I guess but when we're presented with a more performant method, I guess why not use it? Okay. Yeah, this looks good. Okay, so I guess next we'd want to bend it, but let's add some detail first. How about a center like stem? So to do that, I think I'll take a gradient node. This one's centered, and then you can rotate it. And then we could either use levels or another histogram. Oops. Yeah, I always try to zoom in with control. Scroll wheel because that's how it is in other programs, but when you do that in Substance Designer, it pans the camera. Okay, well, we'll go with this for now. I think this is going to be too thick, but we can see how it looks. Okay, so I need to mask this so that we only multiply it on certain parts of the blade, and I kind of don't want it to show up towards the tip of the blade. So there's a couple ways we can do that. First, I think I'll invert this blade to get this color, and then I think there's a distance node which should give me the distance. Okay, this isn't. I thought this would give me the distance to the closest white pixel. Per pixel distance to nearest white pixel from a mask. Oh. Or copy from this position in the source input. So yeah, I said only source. But I could just put that in the mask too. Okay, well, we can experiment more with that later, but I think there's another method. I can just do another blur. Something like that, maybe a little more intense. And then if I multiply this, well, I'll need to invert it again, won't I? So I guess we can blur first and then invert. And then I can multiply it with this line texture, and you can multiply using a blend node. So this, and then change the opacity. Oh, I think I need to flip this around. Oh, wait. Okay, yeah, we don't need to invert it, actually. Okay. Oh, I don't have it on multiply mode. That would be the problem. Okay, so yeah, so now when we multiply them together, you can see it's fading out towards the top. So we can get rid of that, and let's clean this up a little bit. I'm going to apologize ahead of time if this graph gets kind of messy. We can always clean it up when everything's done. But so now I want to blend this back here but I need it to be black because I want it to darken the blade image. So now we'll use the invert. And then we'll blend it again. this should be the background, and this is the foreground. And we'll use multiply. Okay, so that looks not too bad, but I think that the stem is maybe a little too thick. Let's move this down to 0.01 and see how that looks. Okay, and I also think it goes up the blade a little too much, so let's increase this blur. Okay, yeah, I think doing that distance node would give a better effect. Let me see if I can just real quick find some information about that. Okay, so substance designer distance node. Okay, so a distance node creates an outward linear fade from any pixels in the input max over 1/2 grayscale value. The expanding outward fade will determine or terminate as soon as it meets another cell. They'll never overlap. This is actually calculating and displaying the distance to the nearest pixel that's greater than 1/2, with the distance node set as a clamp maximum. An optional source map allows for combining the cells with the texture from a secondary input map. Okay, well, that does help me a little bit, because maybe I don't think I need to put anything into the second input, maybe. Okay, that is kind of more what I wanted, actually. So, I guess you only want the source input if you want to blend it. I don't know, we don't even have to worry about that right now. Okay, so invert. Okay, and so now if I change this maximum distance, okay, it just starts to fade out. Okay, so let's see if this makes a better effect. Okay, so now I need to invert this again. No, I think that's actually worse. Gotta go. Have a great stream. Thanks, Mad Science. I do appreciate you stopping by. Have a great night. Okay. Maybe the best thing to do, if I don't want it to be near the tip, is we'll just shrink this blur down. Okay, let's try that. So we'll do another transformation 2D node. And then just shrink it. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess it does the trick. It's not quite as organic, but... Okay, well that doesn't look too bad, actually. Let's see. What effect does blurring it more? Okay, so it does... Yeah, when you blur it more, it just tends to fade the whole thing. Alright. I think we're good there. Now another thing Grass has is there's like little stripes in it. So I'm gonna try to emulate that real quick. Something called a tile sampler. Okay, and we'll set the shape to be a square. Okay, this isn't... Yeah, I think I can just use this simpler version. Oh. Yeah, the tile sampler is a lot more complicated, but we don't really... Oops. We don't really need it for now. Because all I want to do is just generate stripes. Which I think I can do this way. Okay, so now it's generating a bunch of squares, but they're all the same color, so you can't see them. If I go down to the color, I can change the luminance random value. So now it looks kind of like a barcode. And we'll blend that again. This will actually be the foreground. Okay, we've got to multiply once again. Okay, so yeah, they're too big. This is also too strong. Let's keep it relatively high contrast so we can see what's going on. But we need to have a lot more columns here. Okay, that looks about right. Then we'll bring the intensity really low because it's a really subtle effect. That might be too subtle, but basically I don't want them to affect the final like normal map that we create, but okay. All right, so now let's try. We can bend it, but I actually think I want to try. Let's try to like combine these into multiple different, or I guess blend it so we can have multiple blades. So to do that, I'm going to create another graph. Okay, before I do that, I'm actually going to rename this to grass shape. And then we'll have another effect that'll be, I don't know, the grass texture, I guess? I don't know. We can do card. So this will start by just taking this grass shape, which gives us, I mean, the grass, so we were just working on. Oh, except I didn't, yeah, I need to specify an output here. And I think we will change this more later because we've got to add bend to it and everything, but for now, we just specify an output, and then in grass card, it should show up. Yeah, there we go. So last time when I tried real quick to see how this worked, I did a tile generator, but the problem with that, well, I'll just show you. So tile, it was a tile sampler actually. So you can put this as the pattern input and then tell it to use the pattern input. Let's just bring this down so we can kind of see what's going on. So it repeats the pattern, but if I want to change like the position, it changes the X and the Y value, and there's no way to really specify only one. And also if I had it change the scale, then everything scales from the center, and so these aren't anchored on the ground anymore. And using this node, there's no way really to control that. One thing I've done before is you can just offset everything towards the ground. And that does kind of work, but the only problem is if we had like anything special on the bottom of the grass blade, it would get cut off on all these taller blades. So I don't really like that. Also, if I did something like this rotation random, there's no way that I can I kind of like to control the random so that things point like away from the center, and there's no way that I can control that with this node. Everything is just like completely independent. So yeah, for those reasons I don't want to use a tile sampler node. Thankfully there's another option which I've been reading up on during my free time over the weekend, called the FX map. And this is a pretty complicated node, so I might have to... I have done it myself, so hopefully I'll remember how to do it, but basically we'll get some programming into this. So what this does is basically it's kind of like a custom tile sampler. And you just click edit. This quadrant node is basically places images images onto the texture, and you can control how those are placed using various functions. Why is it in color mode? Oh right, so I want this to be grayscale. Okay, so what we can do here is, yeah, if you're new to Substance Designer, basically anything, you can click here and tell it to use a function to decide this output. So what I'm going to do, so we're going to programmatically decide a pattern offset. And I'm also at the same time going to do a pattern size because they're kind of dependent on each other. Or not kind of, they are dependent on each other in this graph. So I'm going to create a random number. And you can use this node to choose between two random float. So let's say, so right now I'm gonna try to generate like a random Y scale. So let's say this can scale between 0.7 and 1 will be the Y scale. So pass those in there. And then we can compose this into a float 2, which is basically works just like the shader graph in this respect. No, that's not it. What is the node called? Okay, here, vector float 2. So yeah, so since this is our Y, the Y scale, this should be the second component. And then the first component, I think I'll just set to 1 for now, and this is the X scale. Okay, now if you notice up here it says we're editing the pattern offset input of the FX map, but right now we're actually trying to compute the pattern scale. So we can do this little trick to get that, or to set it here. So I'm going to set a variable called pattern scale, and that will save this value in this pattern scale variable. And I'll set it as the output node. Oh, okay, that, actually, yeah. So now it's also thinking that's the offset. Okay, well, we can do the offset real quick. So yeah, just put your pin in that, or put a pin in that for now. So now for the pattern offset, we basically want to offset this backwards or downwards by half of this size. So we can just divide. This by 2. Okay, and then we'll use another vector 2. So this is the X or the Y offset, and then the X offset will just be 0 for now. Okay, and we'll set this as the output. Okay, so that did not work. Okay, well, it's not being scaled, so yeah, we can't really test it. So the only problem now is that basically this stuff won't run because it doesn't route to the output node. So in order to get that to work, we need to use something called a sequence node, which, oops, did that the wrong order. But basically it throws out the top input into the sequence node. And then it outputs whatever is put in at the bottom. So yeah, so that means it will run these two nodes, setting the pattern scale variable, but basically just discards the return value. So if we set this as the output, then we're outputting these values to be the pattern offset. Anyways, I hope that makes sense. So then the pattern scale will also, or sorry, yeah, or I was saying pattern scale, but it's actually pattern size. Why don't I rename this variable to match? And then here we'll just tell the pattern size we also want it to use a function. And all we have to do here is get that float2 variable. We can type in pattern size. And so then it will get the value that we stored in the pattern size variable, and we can set this as the output node. Okay, so that something is wrong, obviously. Also, if you're doing this, each of these, I guess, properties are executed starting from the top down. So if you do set a function for another property from like an above property, make sure that you go from top to bottom. Okay, so let's see here. Alright, so what I'm going to do to test this out is I'm just going to set a constant value. I guess we can just start with 1 and see what that does. Okay, so I can immediately see a problem here. If we set the scale to 1, and we divide by 2, and then we offset by 1/2. So that's not right, because when it's at full size, we should offset by 0. So I think I need to do a 1 minus. Oh, it inserted it in the right spot. I'm going to clean this up a bit. Okay. We can worry about this more later. Yeah, then that actually just goes there. Okay, so there's still nothing showing. Oh, okay, that's why. It's because the X size is 0. There we go. So when I set that to 1, then that works. Because when the X size is 0, obviously nothing's going to show. So let's set it back to be a random size and see what happens. Okay, that worked. So now we can test it. Let's test it with a few more random numbers and see, and just make sure that everything works how we think. To do that, you can just change this random seed. And no matter what the seed is, it seems to give us a good value here. Or, yeah, because we'd see if it wasn't matching, we'd get stuff up at the top. Because it would tile over, but Okay. So now, at the same time, you can get this to create multiple blades by using an iterator node. I did not want that to work like that. And what this does basically is it's kind of like a for loop. You can tell it how many times to run, and it will run this quadrant node over and over. But you gotta set it as the root node. Okay, so yeah, if we run it twice, well, actually we can't see them because they're on top of each other, so I guess we should fix that. Let's take this pattern offset. Now we should add an X offset. Okay, so here we just set that to 0, so we should do something, I don't know, another random. I think I'll just copy these. Feed that into there. Okay, I don't think I want that much variation. And then this should be 0. Okay, that looks better. Or it seems to be working anyway. Okay, so now, yeah, if we set the iterations up, we should see, okay, yeah, we see multiple blades. Although, they seem to be clustered together, and I think that's because, right, this should be -3 actually, or -0.3. There we go. Okay, so now we can get this to have like a random number of iterations if we want. Yeah, why not? Just do another random uniform between A and B. Set this. How about we do, I don't know, between 8 and 12? Okay, and now to get this to work, we have to convert it to an integer. And then set this as the output. Now if we go back in here, we can change the random seed and it will randomly pick a number of iterations. Okay. Not too bad. Now if we did... Okay, now if we want to do rotations, that'll be interesting because we see when we rotate, they pop off the bottom, so we might have to do some trigonometry. But let's not worry about that yet because we might not need to. I'm gonna add a wave to the grass, which might do the same thing. But one thing I do want to do is let's have these. So you can think of this grayscale image kind of like a height, excuse me, a height map. So blades that are in the background should be darker. And now that I think about it, we might want this to also be set that smaller blades are darker, but we can, yeah, if I do that, I'm gonna have to move all these nodes up to the color function because, like I said, if you set multiple variables at once, you have to start from top to bottom. But we can deal with that if I decide to later on. Okay, so we're going to do another random node with 2 float. Let's say, well, really this can vary quite a bit. Let's do 0.1 to 1. And just set this as the output node. Okay, there we go. So already that kind of creates a sense of depth. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So now we could take this and output it into Unity. Maybe we should do that. First, let's make a really simple coloring. Well, I mean, the simplest way is just do like a gradient. That's not what I wanted. I forget what the node is called. Gradient map, I think. Yeah, you put in a grayscale texture, and then you can edit this color. It's going to be pretty flat colors, but we just kind of want to test how it looks. Oh, I thought I clicked on this. Okay, so yeah, obviously these colors are not very good, but so I just have to give these an output. Oh right, and I want to have an alpha, so I think I can do something called a channel shuffle to give it an alpha texture. So I want to like feed this here and say we want to use the second input's alpha channel, or second input's red channel as the alpha. Okay, there's a bit of a halo. Also, that doesn't really work well because it's making the background blades transparent. So what I should do, we could do another histogram. Why is it not showing up? Okay, I guess I clicked something before. So if you move all the way through and just set it to high contrast. Okay. Yeah, there's a bit of a halo. Yeah, we'll fix that later. I think we can just like construct this a little bit to feather out the edges. I can probably fix that anyway if I bring the histogram. Oh no, it's gonna start fading out the back again. Yeah, we just don't need to worry about it right now. Okay, so this, let's call this output albedo and alpha. Okay, and now to export it, I want to export it sRGB. Textures. I'll just call this grass. Okay, so now it'll export textures there. Yeah, we can have it automatically export, which I guess we can do for now. Okay, so now if we open up Unity, it should show up. Yeah, it's right here. Alpha is transparency. Okay, yeah, so this isn't an atlas, obviously, so it won't work with our current system. see. I'm trying to decide if I want to go ahead and transfer to using a texture 2D or a texture array or what. Um, Well, I guess it's not worth it to spend time doing something if we're not going to use it. So let's just make some test textures for the other flowers. So we're gonna have a bloop on it. Indian paintbrushes. And what were the other ones called? They didn't have a common name that yeah, they're called like Coreopsis. Yeah. I guess I could just call them the yellow flowers, but which I think I will because I'll probably keep forgetting the names. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is just create a flat texture for them. We have to decide everything has to be the same size. And probably right now our substance designer texture is way too big. Let's see, I think it's 1024. Oh yeah, 1024. Okay, so yeah, we need to decide what size the texture should be. Let's just do 256, I guess. We can always change it. Because there's going to be a lot of them on the screen, and I'm going to have like a bunch of different types. Okay, forget, how do you change the size? You can like change it as a percentage, but okay, yeah, I guess that works. I can just say change it absolute. You kind of start to get some jackies at 256, but I mean, we can always upscale if we need to. So now I'll export this again at the correct size. Okay, and we want this to clamp. Volume linear is fine. Okay, so now we need to now I know how big they're going to be, so let's make some textures for the other flower types. And I think for now I'm just going to do a flat color. So this will be blue bonnets. We could just call it test actually. Test red and yellow. I think I spelled that one wrong, but all right. So again, I'm going to set all these to clamp. All right, so now let's make a texture array out of them. And I got a cool script from Cat-like Coding, which lets you create a texture array out of any textures you have lying around. Yeah, here. So we'll add our 4 textures. Yeah, and you can just look up Cat-like Coding Texture2DArray and you'll come to the script. It's free to use for anybody under the MIT license. Very useful. I don't know, for some reason Unity doesn't have this built in, which is a little weird, but okay, so let's just call this flowers. I guess grass isn't technically a flower, so I don't know. I'll just don't want to think about it too much. Oh, copy texture called for the entire bitmaps with different memory size. Okay, so source RGB compressed. Destination is bigger. So the destination has alpha, the source does not. Well, can I get it to have alpha? I tested this earlier and it worked fine. Maybe... Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna place the same texture into the texture array 4 times and see if that works. We won't see our beautiful colors anymore, but hopefully that will be fixed by the end of the night anyway. Okay, let's clear that. Okay, so that works. I think it's just because these textures don't have an alpha in them. An alpha channel in them. Which I guess Unity is smart enough to know, and it strips it out, except we don't actually want it to be stripped out. Okay. So to use a texture 2D array, it's actually not that difficult. Although I don't know. I don't think you can set a texture 2D array from the material, so we'll have to do it. I guess I should have looked this up as well before I started programming. It's been a little bit. Let's see. Unity shader material property texture array. Okay. There's no texture importer. Blah blah. Yeah, I did that. Textures can be render targets. Okay. So declare texture 2D array. And sample LOD. Okay, so you can put it in the material just like that. So it's pretty simple. And again, we're going to use a texture 2D array instead of the Atlas texture because right now the Atlas texture, basically Atlas textures just don't work well with 3D. They're good with sprites, but in 3D, since we have bitmaps, you have to have really big margins or the bitmaps will start to bleed the different textures together, and there's just not a good way to handle it. We tried playing with it a lot last stream before I remembered about texture arrays. But see, here we have a 32 pixel margin, which is a lot of wasted space. And if I bring this down to 0, you can already see here the different textures are starting to merge together, and it's just because bitmaps blend border colors together, and it just doesn't look very good. It might, like for our flowers, since the flowers are going to have quite a bit of like alpha border around them, it might not really matter. But I don't know. We can use a texture 2D array, so why not? And yeah, an array is basically just like a bunch of textures stacked on top of each other, and they each have their own bitmaps. This is kind of what they were made for, so. Alright, so what was the keyword? Alright, so I'm trying to do it in the shader first. Oops, let's put these together. Okay, so main texture array. Okay, we can still have the alpha cut out, but we don't need this UV margin anymore or the atlas size. Yeah, we'll also have to have a texture array for the normal map. But I'm not even really supporting normal maps at the moment, so we can cross that bridge when we need to. Okay, so we have to call this Unity declare text2D array. The sampler should be the same. Let's check on that example script. Oh, okay, we don't have to give it a sampler. Oh, that's the wind texture, so yeah, we can get rid of that. And I guess, yeah, we don't need this scale or this texel size either. Okay, so here, basically we can get rid of this whole thing, because now the card UV is going to be the same as what we pass through. Just making sure. So we need to pass the texture layer also in the UV, so I'll change this to be a float 3. And then down here, float 3, card UV, and then we'll pass the texture array index as well, which we calculated in the compute shader. Texture index. Okay, and then down here, we used to sample the texture, now we need to sample a texture 2D array, which is about the same. Okay, so I guess the UV, yeah, we don't pass the layer separately, so yeah, samples the texture array with a float 3 UV. The Z component of the coordinate is the array element index, so that's exactly what we set up here. Okay, so we got the main texture array, and then there's no sampler, and then we pass the UV. Okay, so yeah, there's got to be some bug, I'm sure. Unity declare texture 2D array. Okay, so I guess URP has changed things. Okay, well this will be fun. We've got to go digging through the URP library and find out what they changed it to. So in the compute shader, to sample a texture, you have to include this core.hlsl. So I'm hoping that that also has the texture 2D array macros. Universal, where's the core? Right here. Yes. Oh, okay, so it's a universal actually. Okay, here we go. I just couldn't see it. So we're going to look in the Universal Shader Library to find this core.hlsl and hope that we can see the macro for Texture2D. So we have Texture2D. So we define that. That's stereo instancing. That's not what we want, but I guess it uses this here, so maybe that's what it uses. Yeah, because this is setting up VR stuff. So they must be included in one of these others, but okay, so here there's a sampler. And then I also okay, so it seems like this just works completely different than the normal, so I have to have a sampler and also the slice array or the array slice is a separate argument. Well, let's test it and see. Okay, so this, and we need, I guess it just uses the same type of sampler. So sampler, main texture array. And then it had sample texture 2D array. And it had the texture name and then the sampler. Texture array, and then the texture coordinate, which is XY, and then our slice is the Z. So let's see if that compiles. It does. Oh, okay, well, I'm not worrying about that. Implicit truncation of vector type. Oh, well. I don't think this is true. It should be stripped anyway because we're not using it, but... Okay, so now it's all this weird off-white color. Oh, because I haven't set anything here. Okay, so now we've got something, but... seems like the alpha channel doesn't work quite right. Let's see if we can get a good view of just a single card. Okay, that's pretty good. Yeah, it seems like it's just not cutting out the alpha right. So maybe if I move the threshold? Okay, so I just had to move it up a bit. Oh, and it's probably just because our alpha channel is like not completely crisp. So yeah, we can mess with that as we need to. Okay, but not too bad. How come there's no wind though? Oh, the wind is off. Okay, well, I mean, it doesn't look like much yet, but we've got finally some textures running. I'll just leave that there. Okay, so I guess. Okay, well, let's return to Substance Designer and make some better grass. Now that we've tested it out in Unity. So, obviously we want to work more on the color and the alpha channel, but I think I'm going to return to the grass shape. And let's try and get a height map that we're really happy with. Okay, so let's add a little bit of a bend to it. I was playing around with these, and it's kind of it's a good balance you have to get all these to work correctly. But there's a skew node, and it kind of just skews the texture, but it doesn't look too. It doesn't look that natural. And then you can also do something called a directional blur. Oh, yeah, we've used this before. That's not what I wanted. There's a directional warp. That's what I was thinking of. And if I pass it just like a circular shape, then we'll start to get something that's a bit more natural. Do this. Yeah, so that looks better already. Maybe. Okay, no. Well, that actually is a kind of cool shape, but that's not what I'm wanting. I guess the first one was the best, huh? Okay, and then we can change the intensity here to get more bend. And then I even skewed this again. I think it's a good idea to try to keep the bottom roughly centered. But you do something like that to get it to curve, I don't know, I guess more to the left first. Okay, so that actually I think will make the grass look a lot better just doing that. Okay, so now it's all curving the same way. This is one thing that I really wish Substance Designer would do better. I wish that you could, like, I don't know, tell this FX map to re-execute its input node every time it chooses to place an image, but like with a different random seed. But unfortunately, you can't do that. So you have to like manually make all the permutations that you want to input in here yourself. Let's see. So I want to flip this, and then you can see you can have multiple inputs into here. So I'm going to set both of them. And then on our FX map, we can edit it again. And here you can have it select different input images. Oops, sorry. And we can use a function here and to choose another random number. Float. Oh, wait, this is the wrong node. I want a random uniform between A and B. Okay, so let's, okay, right now we want it to pick from 0 or 1, actually. What's the best way to do this? Random uniform, floating random value between A and B, random discrete function. Oh, it doesn't have a description. Well, I guess if we just do this. And then, I don't know if to integer will round or what. Does it not have a floor? Oh, there it is. So we'll take the floor of this. Oh, it's complaining because it says that there's a circular input. Well, it's because it hooked things up when I didn't want. Okay, so there we go. And now this to integer, and we'll set this as the output. Okay, and now it randomly chooses between the two grass. This looks a bit weird though. It's like it's fading them together. Okay, maybe we can change this blending node. No. Okay, well that does look better actually. We'll just set it to max so that way whatever is brightest, which is the blade on top, should appear first. Okay, so that, I mean, obviously again the colors are bad, but the shape is looking better. Yeah, like I wish I could choose like, it'd be cool if I could do like a random like bend amount. Maybe we'll play with that. I think you can put in up to 6 input images, so I could have, unfortunately I don't think there's any way I can flip this in the FX map. Otherwise we could have 6 different like variations on the grass, but anyway, did it export it? I think it did. Oh, but it's not going to update in the texture. That's a real annoyance. I think we'll have to regenerate the Texture2D array every time we change this. Well, there's probably I could make a better workflow by having an asset importer that does this automatically, and maybe that would be worth it, but I don't know. Doesn't look like it updated. I created the new, didn't I? Did I say cancel or something? Oh no, in flowers it shows it right there, but they didn't update here. Oh, that's weird. Why does it not? I don't know why it didn't update the Texture2D array in the material even though the old asset was deleted. Okay, so yeah, there's some weird workflow issues with Texture2D arrays apparently. Okay, so this is starting to look better. There's still some... Yeah, I don't like the way that this shader distributes the grass. It's too even. So we can do like a random offset, which will help a little bit. But that's one of the main things I've been working on my new tutorial, is trying to have a better way to distribute grass. So hopefully that will be done relatively soon so I can show you all, but okay, so that's one thing I'm thinking of. It's also too sparse, but I guess I shouldn't worry about it too much until we get like actual finished textures in, so that way we can see how it looks. Okay, so it feels, or this particular pattern, it I feel like it's a little strange because I don't know, the grass like is bending towards each other. Yeah, I just wish that you could tell it to generate a different shape every time, but I don't think that's possible, at least from my research. If anyone does know a way, yeah, please let me know, because I'd love to be able to do that, but okay, so let's go back into grass shape. I think I want to generate some versions of the grass that don't bend as much. And we can do that. Okay, it's not gonna let me go just by double clicking apparently. Let me think. What's the best way to do it? Okay, first, I think this might be a little too strong. But yeah, so we can like expose these different values like this intensity and then this skew amount and make them editable on the node here. And so then we could have different values or different like curve amounts. I don't know. We could do that. Maybe another way. Let's see here. On the effects map, it might also work if we just rotate this. Let me try that. So again, since it rotates from the center of the pattern, I know that there was a little weird. Yeah, so it rotates them off the ground, but maybe we don't need to have that much rotation. Maybe we could do some trigonometry. It'd be something like, I don't know, sine of the angle. And then we push it down more. Okay, so let's go back into this graph. And for now, I'll just do a random number again for the rotation. And I know that Substance Designer likes to do rotations in revolutions instead of like radians or anything like that. So let's start something really small. This is actually probably going to be pretty big looking because it's a 1/10 of a revolution, but okay, and so we'll want to set this into a variable. Okay, so this will be pattern rotation. Okay, and then we need to do another sequence. Okay, I've kind of done this a little weird because this value is what's actually set. So technically, to keep this in line, I think I'll move this to the top because remember you work top down. And then the rotation was below the size. So we need to have another sequence. Okay, and again, what you pass into the top is what passes through the sequence. Oh wait, no, I did it backwards. The top is what's discarded, but the bottom is what goes through. So here we're just saying execute these nodes, but discard the value. And that's because we store the value in this variable, so. Okay, and then back in the quadrant node, we need to set this pattern rotation to an empty function, and then we can just get float value pattern rotation and set it as the output, and that should be all we have to do. Okay, so yeah, this is way too much. Let's see. So let's set this something, I don't know, super small. Let's do like 0.02. Should be negative 0.02 up here. Okay, so it is starting to lift off the ground, which I don't like, but it does have a little bit, even just doing that small amount of rotation gives it more, what am I trying to think of? Gives it more variety. Now, one cool thing we could do also is that the more it's offset in the X direction, the more this, the more it rotates instead of doing it completely random. So what I might do is take this and multiply this value. So let's see, it'd be something like let's see. I want to, I guess, divide it by, I guess, 0.3. Okay, yeah, this node is, or this graph is getting a little messy, but okay, so now this ranges between 0 and, well, technically -1 and 1. And then we multiply these two together. Okay, and then I think this we can set to 0 because yeah, the negative part is already taken care of there. So let's just make this larger so we can kind of see. It does seem to work. Okay. Yeah, I kind of like the way that looks. Let's see, there's still, actually, well, there is still a little pop off, but you can barely tell. I don't think I'll worry about it actually because we're gonna want to kind of fade this out into the terrain anyway. So I could also just move it down a little bit to take care of that. That might be the best thing to do. So let's see, pattern size. Okay, so let's just add a very small offset here. So just to make sure I got this right, if I add 1, does it move down? Okay, yeah, so I want to do something like, I don't know, 0.01. Now it's all flat on the ground again. Okay, and to get rid of this little bit on the top, we can just turn off tiling. So I'll go up here and again set this to absolute and say no tiling. Okay, now let's try a bunch of different seeds and see. Yeah, that actually looks pretty good. Starting to come together. Yeah, let's just pick a seed. I'll do this one just to test it back in Unity. I should have updated already, but obviously it's not going to update the texture array, unfortunately. Okay, well, and here in Unity I can see it's kind of popped off the ground right there. So maybe I should move it down a little bit more. Again, I could try and do some trigonometry to move it down exactly enough, but it doesn't really make any difference, I don't think. Alright, and there is a bunch of extra space at the top, so we can scale this back up to fill it. Which would probably be a good idea so that we don't have just unused space in the texture. And now I think it might be time to work on the color, which I didn't get as much chance to practice, so this might be interesting. What's it? Transform 2D. Okay, something like that. Alright, so let me think. So we don't really want to use this gradient map, I don't think. It's a little too simple. But let's try to get, yeah, no matter what we do, we're going to need a better alpha channel. Ooh, it's made this all wavy. That's funny. Oh, that reminds me of something I wanted to do. I wanted to distort this one last time. To give each blade a little bit more uniqueness. And to do that, I'm gonna get some noise. What's it called? I think it's, yeah, cells. This is just Voronoi noise, but I'm gonna blur it, and it kind of makes an interesting shape. Okay, and now when you do that, it makes it a little bit more interesting, but we don't need too much intensity. Kind of interesting that we're getting these jagged edges. I wonder, is that because of the size of this texture size? This is parent. Like, I wonder. Okay, actually the jagged edges are coming here from the histogram scan. Okay, well maybe, yeah, we need to probably blur this edge a little better. It's too sharp now that I think about it. Okay, so we can keep this, but move that out. Okay, so let's just try just a normal blur and see how that looks. Okay, obviously that's too strong. Unfortunately, I can't zoom in any more than that, but it does look a little better. One trick I saw is you can like put it into a normal node and you can see that lets you be able to see the edges a little bit more. So that is pretty pretty smooth. Okay, I want to get rid of those jagged edges. I wonder. No, it doesn't. Yeah, they're introduced with this histogram scan. Which makes sense because the histogram scan, I was basically turning it into a pure black and white image. Okay, now we're adding. So yeah, I think this way is fine. And then we'll take this and feed that here. Okay, yeah, that looks a lot better, I think. Anyway. Okay, yeah, it was just a little bit, it wasn't chunky enough. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Alright. If I use this. Okay, so I'd like to use figure out something better for the alpha channel. This again has these kind of ugly halos. If I move this, yeah, if I just take the position down, oh, yeah, we get to our problem where it is fading out these blades behind, which doesn't look great. So I don't think the histogram scan is our right thing. Maybe we can go back to using that distance node. So what do I need to do? I think I need to do an inversion. Oh. Okay, and then I have to invert again. Okay, now that looks pretty ugly. It's like... Well, okay, maybe if I bring down the distance. If you get the value just right, it's not too bad, but then you have these weird things like right here, the dark color and the edges. No, that won't do it for me. Oh. No, we still need this because we want to convert it to a black and white image. Okay, so... I might have to look at that tutorial, which unfortunately I can't show on stream because it's a YouTube video and I don't think I have permission. So I'll put a link to the video description, or I guess, yeah, in the video description, but it's, well, I guess I could just put a link in chat. But yeah, that's the video, that YouTube tutorial I've been using. He makes I don't want to do exactly this style, but it is kind of similar. Let's see, trying to figure out. Again, it's a little awkward to do on stream because I can't listen to it. But I couldn't find a text tutorial. There's like not really that much out there on Substance Designer, which is a little strange to me, considering it seems to be very popular. But okay, now YouTube has decided to freeze. Okay, how did he do it? I wish that he would zoom in a little bit more because it's hard to see what the nodes are. Oh, it looks like he just used a histogram scan. Okay, so he did a histogram, then a blur, and then something else. Oh, and then another histogram scan. Okay. Well. The thing is, I want to constrict my alpha channel, and I think this is going to make it larger, but... yeah, I don't know. This doesn't look very good to me. Well, okay. Maybe... let's see. Move the contrast. Yeah, see this part right here is just really ugly. And see if I change... I can't really change this first histogram because it removes the dark blades. I wonder... let's see. I don't know if this will really do anything, but maybe if I invert this histogram and then blur and then invert again, maybe this will constrict it instead of... I think I gotta do this instead of like expanding the alpha. It does kind of, but it still does that ugly bit in the middle of the blades. Okay, well this is probably the best so far. I feel like there's got to be a better way to handle this though. Because it still has this like ugly crease. Okay, well, yeah. I think I'll have to play around with that to get a better handle on it. Let's try to get some better color. 'Cause at least we have a kind of workable alpha. Okay, so one cool thing I saw is that there's an ambient occlusion node. And if you feed this into that, it spits out this kind of cool thing. And we can use it to color different parts of the grass blades how we want. But anyway, kind of getting ahead of myself. Let's do just a background texture, and I'll just add some noise. And we'll colorize this. Okay, so let's try and pick some good colors this time. Okay, and I kind of think, okay, well, that's already as small as it'll go. Okay, well, let's just go with this. I think this might be a little bit too fine to look good, but okay, let's see. Okay, so what he does now is he uses basically these masks to blend more colors on top of this. So this goes in the opacity, that's background. And then we have a uniform color that is on top. Okay, so this would be, I wanted to preview that. Okay, although I kind of want the ones in the front to be brighter. Okay, well there we go. Okay, it's definitely interesting. That looks a little better. I'm not sure about the color yet, but let's get our chain set up and we can worry about that. And so then we have this ambient occlusion, and we can use that as another mask to do some outlining. And this will be like a warmer edge color. Okay, so it's outlining some other parts around here, but we don't really have to worry about that because it's going to be alpha blended out. But also, I kind of want it to be flipped, so we should invert this. Yeah, that's better. Again, I don't know for sure about the color, but we can change that. Also, I don't really like how it's picking up our little ridges in the grass so strongly. So I think I might go back in the grass shape and lessen their effect. So here, I'm kind of surprised because you can barely see them, but the ambient occlusion sure does. They still kind of show up, huh? Also, I think instead of using just this straight in, I think we'll use that mask there just to do like a background for the grass. Maybe not full opacity, something like that. And then maybe the order here should be different, but something like that. Is this set right? Okay, no, there we go. Well, it doesn't actually seem to do anything, but I think that's because these colors are too similar. Okay, so that's looking a little better. So now I think I want to do a gradient so that the areas near the bottom are darker. Yeah, and again, I'm not really worrying too much about the actual colors yet because, yeah, we need to go definitely change those because they are looking a bit weird right now, but get rid of that, I think. Okay, so for here, we'll just add... well, we could actually use a bit of lighting at the top, but I wanted to darken the bottom part. So I should do an invert. This should probably go before the ambient occlusion, actually. But anyway, so this will be a darker color. Okay, so that's I think this color is too dark, but also the gradient affects it too early. Something like that is a little better, I think. I don't know. I hate this alpha channel, but also, yeah, this black and white spot noise isn't doing it for me. I'll just go for some Gaussian noise. Alright. Okay, so let's try and get... I think instead of using this gradient map, I'm just going to use 2 uniform colors because it's easier to edit. Not blur, I want blend. Okay, so... Okay, so the first, this will be the highlights. Well, they should both be kind of dark actually because they're in the background, but I think they're... It's a little too cool. I think I want this grass to be more warm. Let's take a look at... Oh, it opened it in the wrong... in the wrong browser, but... Yeah, it's a pretty warm image in general. So I think we'll keep these, work with a warm palette. Okay. Okay, so I don't want it to be too strong or it just gets rid of all that noise we just added. Okay, and then a warm brownish color. I think it's maybe a little too strong, but and then okay, so this is where we add the height map. It should probably go before the ambient occlusion, actually. So let's flip this. Yeah, I probably made that a little bit more complicated than it had to be. Okay, so... Do these even need to be 2 different layers? Let's blur this first one just slightly. I think it's starting to get a little too yellow. Okay, yeah, that looks better. So this already gets in some of the ribbing, and the ambient occlusion adds even more. Although I'd kind of rather it not get the middle, but I don't think I don't know how to get rid of that. Maybe I do ambient occlusion on this histogram scan, something like that. And then it would just get the parts that go behind other blades. Oh, not really though, because it's merged all the colors together. I don't know what's going on with this blade in particular. Oh, that looks ugly. No, that's bad. Okay, well, it's not horrible, it's just I don't know. Some of the values there are a little strange. Okay. That's definitely looking much better than we had before. It might actually be a little bit too reddish now. Let's see. It doesn't have as much yellow in it. Yeah, I think it was too saturated. Yeah, that looks a little better. Maybe that also helped this. All right. Okay, well, we've got some grass going. It's not like perfect. Don't like, I might take away those little grass ribbings. And then there's some weird stuff like it seems like this blade is like cutting through the other one. Unfortunately, that just happens because we use, like, back in the FX map, we used a maximum. Yeah, you can kind of see it right there where the stem. It's because these two are so close in color. I guess I can just pick a different random seed. Oh, there's still one right there. Although you don't really notice it. Here, actually, yeah, the tips are getting cut off. So I need to bring down this transformation 2D. Now they're floating off the ground a little bit. I mean, it's not horrible. It's not gonna, but yeah, I don't know. The alpha channel is not good. All right. Let's remake our grass texture array and just see how it looks. And for some reason it doesn't update in the material, which is kind of strange, but okay, so that definitely does look a lot better than it did. The colors are starting to get there. This is a little weird, but we can fix that by making them not curve so much, but fortunately that just kind of happens when you do grass cards like this. Actually, like in Unity, you can't really see the weird alphaness, like the weird alpha thing. Well, you can kind of see it when you look real close, but it's not that bad. So maybe let's just not worry about it for now, I guess. But yeah, actually, it looks a lot better in game than it did in Substance Designer. That's for sure. Okay, but it is really flat. You can try. I'd like to add a normal map, but I need to research the best way to do it, because the problem was before, since the normal on the grass always points upwards, like the difference, depending on what side you see the grass, the normal will point a different way, and you can flip it actually, but I was reading that there's like a better lighting model is actually to make like the normal point kind of towards the camera. But I haven't really gotten to play with that yet, so I don't know if I want to do it right now on stream. Although I don't know, maybe there's no better time, but actually, you know, we really need to get a better ground texture, I think. Let's see. Also, maybe like the contrast on the different grass blades is a bit too high. But I don't know. I think I won't wait. I mean, I won't waste time editing that until we have like all the flowers, because it's kind of hard to tell at the moment. Anyway, so there's a bunch of things we could do next. Let's just make a really simple soil texture, I guess. Oops. Okay, so let's see if we can figure this one out. I think we can just do, yeah, they even have a dirt texture. So the easiest way, and maybe, yeah, we don't need to spend too much time on this, I think, because it's not, we're gonna have so many flowers that I don't think we'll really be able to see the ground that much, but we should have something. Okay, so Oh, okay. I want this to stay viewed, but then edit this one. Okay, so this one needs to be the dark, and then this one should be the bright. Okay, well, I mean, this will do for now. Let's, it is tileable. I think it, let's try one of the other dart noises. Okay, I think that may be a bit too red. I don't know. We'll go with this for now. Okay, yeah, that looks better already. It was, I think everything was too reddish. Okay, so now we just need to output a albedo color. Okay. Yeah, we can make. We need to make. Oh well, the normal vector is also messed up for the terrain actually, but we could do like roughness and normal maps for them as well. Okay, so this is good. And I could just pass this, and if I okay, so it's being changed because it's a QBR node. So it's being affected by reflections and things like that. Which I don't really like the look of it, mostly because the grass is unlit. Well, it's not unlit, but it's not affected by environment lights. So maybe we should just turn environment lighting off right now. That didn't have as big of an effect as I thought it might. Okay, yes, that was it. It was the reflections. We probably want to turn them back on at some point, but they kind of blend in already. But also, I want the alpha to lower a bit on these grass, yeah, on these grass cards as you get to the bottom, so that it'll blend in more with the soil. Oh. It wants to save the soil somewhere. So we can do that pretty easily. What I have to do here is make another, basically we'll just do another gradient like this. Oh. Yeah, we do need... wait. Yeah, I was gonna say we need to invert it, but no, because we want the black part... Yeah, this is good how it is. Something like this we can start with. And then we'll use a blend node again to multiply them together. Okay, it's probably a bit too much, but then we can lower the opacity. Oh, except, yeah, these need to be flipped if I'm going to do that. Okay, that doesn't have quite the effect as I thought. Okay, something like that. Let's... Oh wait, except, no, we can't do it this... Yeah, we actually can't do that with our shader because our shader is a cutout alpha. So... yeah, that wouldn't do anything, actually. So yeah, to make this blend, we've got to just use color. But it already kind of blends, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. Because my final scene will probably be looking somewhere like this. But yeah, the grass is too sparse and also not... it's too regular. So I'll need to fix both of those things. This is starting to be a bigger project than I anticipated. But that's alright. Oh, I just realized I've been dropping frames a lot. I apologize for that. My internet is not the best, but... okay. So I still have about 30 minutes. To be honest, I'm kind of substance designed out because I've not only have I done it just now for 2.5 hours, but I also was doing it for most of the day. So I think I might pivot over to another project. I have a couple other ideas I wanted to do. I don't know how much we'll really get done because I only have 30 minutes, but that's okay. Anyway, yeah, thanks everybody for sticking with me through that substance designer bit. I know most people follow me for Unity stuff, but I hope you don't mind that because I am trying to get better with like substance designer and Blender. So you'll probably see them on stream every once in a while. But anyway, so okay. Close this up. Okay, so what I thought we would do, oh, and of course it's the wrong version, but hopefully this won't take too long. So you know, like, well, I've been trying to do flower things because that was the theme for Harry's Ali Savakis's oh, I do apologize if I said that wrong, but Harry's tech art challenge. So I've been trying to do flower things. So I had another idea, you know, like those falling like cherry blossom petals. I always think those are kind of cool. So it'd be cool to do something like that in Unity. And It's a lot like a rain shader, so if you want to do something with the raindrops, it's kind of similar. So we'll get started. Like I said, we probably won't get super far into it today, but the main idea is you kind of you have like particles for your falling petals, and then you use the depth texture and the depth normal texture to know when you hit something. So you kind of do like ray casting on the GPU, and then when you hit something, the petal will just stay still. So again, we'll use a compute shader, but this time it will be to make some custom particles. You might be able to do this in the VFX graph, which I might look into because I actually have not used that very much. But for now, I think I want to make it with a compute shader. Okay, so I do have URP. Okay, so let's get started. I think it's easiest to start with the compute shader, usually. So let's do compute. And for now, I just want to make, I don't know, just a really simple gravity effect where we'll, I don't know, just do little colored squares on the screen that move down. And we'll get the collisions and everything working after that. Okay, so this will be blossom particles. Oh, I guess I could just call them petals. Falling petal particles. I guess I should change this stream info since I'm done with Substance Designer. Okay, custom, let's see, making falling petal particles in Unity. Okay, yeah, so here's the standard compute shader. So yeah, we can start with this. I'll change some of these values. We won't need a texture because what I'm gonna do is we'll do a draw procedural again. So in that case, we'll first need a structure for the graphic shader. I guess we'll just call it a petal. And this will have a float 3 position in green space. Yeah, I think that's right. Or would it? No, it'll be in world space because we'll convert like screen space, the normal, the depth normals into like, and depth into like a world space position. Actually, I don't know if we'll need depth normals, but we'll need the depth texture. Okay, well, we'll do more because like eventually this petal should have like a lifetime value so that we can like rotate it and things like that, but okay, and so then I'll just want a gravity vector. And I'll make it a float 3 because that way we can actually add like constant wind into this. We might want to put like bursts of wind too, but we can deal with that. Oh right, and then we need our buffer. So no, don't need a public. So this will be, I think We'll always just have a constant number of petals, because that'll make things easier for us. So when the scene loads, they'll just be placed randomly on the screen. And then one will it'll stay and sit on the ground for a while until it'll fade away eventually, and then another one will spawn. So I guess they'll have to have some kind of state to know that if it's on the ground or not. Although I guess we'll also know if it's on the ground by doing the depth test, but okay, so structured buffer petal. Okay, this I don't know, falling petals. So if this is gonna fade away, I guess we should also give it an alpha then, or do I want it to fade with scale? Well, yeah, I guess either way. So we'll have just a fade value. Okay, so, and then we'll need to have something for the number of petals. And then if id.x is greater than or equal to the number of falling petals, then we'll just exit out. And that's because you have to dispatch this main function in groups of these thread groups. So if you have less than 128 petals, this will still run 128 times. So sometimes it might. So to keep it from overflowing the buffer, we have to return right there. And yeah, one run will deal with one petal. Okay, so at this point we can falling petal. Okay, this actually should be a read-write structure buffer because we'll update it here in the graph in the compute shader. Let's not do it like that. So petal index. I feel like I'm spelling petal wrong, but I think that's maybe I'm thinking of a foot pedal, which is with a D. So falling petals equals ID. Oh wait, I'm trying to think what the best way to do this. So float 3 position world space equals falling petals. Maybe I should do it like this. So petal, and then when we're done working with it, we can just set this back. Okay, petal dot position world space. I don't know if this will work. Okay, and then also we'll need the float delta time because we'll want to multiply gravity by the time. Actually, yeah, gravity is acceleration, so I guess gravity is not the correct term, but petals usually fall at, well, for now I'm going to have these petals fall at a constant speed. They'll probably actually want to wave back and forth, but okay, so let's change this to constant velocity just to make it easy. Okay, so yeah, and actually since constant velocity is vector 3, I don't have to set just the y position. Okay, so I think that's all we have to do there. Pretty simple. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead. Actually, yeah, I guess I shouldn't have closed the other program. Syntax error. Yeah, I always get in C# mode. You don't have to put public in HLSL. Signed, unsigned mismatch. Oh, and that's because this id.x is an unsigned integer. I think I'll just make this unsigned so they match. Which I guess I should do that as well. Okay, now let's, I'm gonna just copy our grass shader here because it's, although it won't be the same, since they're both, I don't know, compute buffer shaders, it'll be easier to start from that. So let's open. Okay, and then move here. Graphic shaders. I was looking for a shader folder, but okay. And let's rename this to Falling Petals. Okay. And we'll go ahead and open both files. Oh yeah, there's an annoying thing. I don't know if you can. Yeah, see here, I don't even have, like, there's no solution for our Unity project because for some reason it won't load shaders unless there's a script, like a C# script as well. So I'm just going to make, because we will make a C# script eventually, so I'm just going to go ahead and create it. This will be the Falling Petals renderer. Okay, and so now magically when that's there, you have to reload, and then our Unity project will show up on the top. So now we can see our shaders and everything. Okay, so let's just change this to NMG Falling Petals. And I don't need any of this yet. I think I'll just make a color. Let's see. So, oh, yeah, this will actually be an opaque texture. Well, yeah, maybe we'll make it transparent. I don't know how they're gonna fade away. Universal forward, okay, and yeah, we don't need culling, and we don't need alpha to mask right now. Okay, so it has to be 5.0 because we're using compute buffers. They're actually okay. So I guess actually we could have them receive shadows because they'll be in world space. So why not? Okay, so this should be Falling Petals. Okay, NMG Falling Petals included. Okay, so we need the lighting library, and then I have this graphics helpers file, which I should bring over actually because it has some useful stuff. Although I'll rename it to, I don't know, just graphics helpers for now. Okay, so here is our falling petal structure. I think I'll just call it petal actually. So yeah, we just have a position in it right now. Actually, did I have something else? Yeah, I had the fade value, which we don't actually set. I guess I'll just set it to 1. Yeah, we'll want to add a bunch to this, like I said, like, because the graphics shader will need to know if it's floating in the air or colliding on the ground, because when it's in the air, it'll, like, I think I'll have it rotate around, but... So this needs to be the same name, because they're both going to be set by the renderer. So falling petals. Okay, so the vertex output will have, I guess, yeah, well, I guess we'll have all this stuff. I don't know if we'll need it right now, but... And the only thing here is we'll have a float 3 color. Or technically float 4, actually. And did I... Okay, I thought I forgot the underscore at first. Okay, so most of the stuff we can get rid of. Although, okay, we're gonna create the card the same way, actually. You know what? Before I get rid of all this stuff, are we gonna do the rotation the same way? Because I'm trying to think. Well, I mean, I guess we could change it if we don't, but if so, then I might as well just pass the 3x3 rotation matrix like we did here, because that worked really well. So this is a tangent to world. Did I? Okay, so it has a dimensions, which I think, I guess I should set that as a property. Okay, dimensions. This is a vector. Let's just start with 1, 1. And okay, so I don't need this bin matrix because there's not any curvature for the petals. So the tangent to world is just this, what we passed. And then, okay, so we get the normal and the tangent vector from that, which is useful if we do normal mapping, so I'll leave that for now, but we don't need this wind. And we also don't have a texture index, so I can change this to be a normal old float 2. Oh. Excuse me. That came up. Quite a surprise. But anyway, okay, so we can get rid of this part. I think that's all good. So here, okay, so again, we're not gonna have any of this. So the alpha is just 1. Yeah, actually I don't even have alpha to mask. Yeah, we can deal with that later. And the albedo is just the color. I guess I'll leave this here because that's what we'll need for alpha to mask. Okay. Let's see. Falling petals, I don't recognize identifier, draw anchor. Oh yeah, so I just need to change this to petals. And right, so remember each of these basically describes a quad on the screen. So each one has 4 vertices, so that's why we can figure out which anchor those vertices is attached to by dividing by 4. Oh, I didn't change the name here, so petal, and I need to change this to petal, and I guess I should change this name to vertex and petal ID because there's no blades anymore. Okay, and also I need to set this tangent to world in the compute shader. Actually, wait, I don't think I'll set it here because when this gets initialized, we'll just set the tangent to world to the identity matrix, so I don't need to do it in the compute shader. Okay, undeclarative identifier anchor still. Oh, right. And there's also one here. I wish the Visual Studio handled HLSL a little better so that I could just click this and have all the other ones highlighted, but alpha cutout. Oh, right. Okay, so I'll just comment this out for now. Implicit truncation of vector type. Okay, so I just need to tell it ignore the alpha channel. There we go. Okay, so let's make a material for the falling petals. And then we'll do the we'll work on the C# renderer. Okay, I probably won't get to see anything today, unfortunately, but maybe we'll work on this next time. I don't know. I kind of want to finish that flower field thing, but I don't know how much everyone wants to see me work through Substance Designer, so that's going to be what we're going to be doing the next couple times, because we got to make the other flowers and everything. Anyway, let's see. No, it's not a shader graph. Okay, so let's just set the color to something, I don't know, pinkish for now. And yeah, that's fine. Okay, so let's see how far we can get on the falling petal renderer. And I could just use the grass renderer, but I don't know. That script is kind of messy, so maybe we can make something better here. Serialize. Did I spell that wrong? Serializable. So public class. I'll just call this shader settings. And we won't actually have anything in there yet, but the private shader settings. And then we'll have the compute shader. Compute shader. And then we'll have I guess that's all we really need. Oh no, I need the material. Private material. And then here, yeah, we'll need the number of petals. I guess I can make it an unsigned integer. Alright. And the cool thing about this is that we only need to have one in the scene, so I don't have to worry about making duplicates of all these things, which is nice. So to make this work well in editor, we have to kind of do this weird thing. So private, which still doesn't work perfectly, but initialized. And I want this to update in edit mode. What's it called? Run execute, I think. It's execute in edit mode. I guess this should also have like a, because when it spawns, we'll need to have like a world bounds. Okay, so void on enable. If initialize is false, then we'll want to call a setup function. I'll call it initialize actually. No, that's not what I want to do. And then here we'll do work and set initialize to true before exiting. And then similarly, we'll want to have like a shutdown. And this will set initialize to false after it does work. Okay, and then on disable, we can call shutdown if we're initialized. And finally, an update if we're in the Unity editor. Every update we need to check if it's not initialized, and that's just so that we can get this thing to run in the in edit mode. So if initialized is false, then initialize, and then we need to check if there's an error, then we don't want to go any further. So if initialized is still false, then we'll, oh gosh, I don't know why I keep doing that tonight. Then we'll return. Okay, and then we'll do work on the update. Okay, so first thing I want to do here is if settings number of petals is 0 or compute shader is null or the material is null, then we just return, and this is so the thing won't try to run before we've initialized it. Oh yeah, we also need to set up a graphics buffer for the falling petals data. So I'll just call this the petals buffer. And I guess we're gonna need to create our own like index buffer as well. So private index buffer. And this is just so we can tell the GPU how all of our vertices hook together to form triangles. Okay, so the petals buffer equals new graphics buffer. This will be structured. Okay, and then the settings will be the number of petals, and then we have to tell it the stride, which is the length in bytes of one element in the buffer. We'll actually work with the structure here, so let's just initialize it. Petals struct, or let's define it, is what I meant to say. So we'll have a float 3. And yeah, if you don't have float 3, it's basically the same as vector 3, but it works more like in HLSL, so I kind of prefer it. But it's in the new unity.mathematics package, which comes with URP and dots and a lot of other things. Okay, so yeah, this is the position in world space, and then we'll have our float 3x3 matrix, which is tangent to world, and then I have the fade value. And then whenever I have the structure here, I like to just define the stride in the structure like this. So this has 3 floats, this has 9 floats, and then there's one more. So size of float times 3 plus 9 plus 1. And so that's the stride of this structure. Okay, and then for the index buffer, this is also a structured buffer, which just means it's kind of like an array. Oh yeah, and it's kind of annoying. It doesn't take unsigned integers, so you have to cast it. But and then the number of values we'll have in here. So each petal will have 2 triangles, meaning it will have 6 indices. And then the stride of this is just 1 integer. So we can just do size of int. Okay. And then on shutdown, we want to destroy this buffer. Or sorry, release it. That just gets rid of its data on the GPU, freeing up the memory. And then down here, we'll want to call graphics.draw procedural. And then we'll pass the material, the bounds. Okay, the topology is in triangles. Vertex count is this. I'm gonna have to cast it again. And what else is there? Instance count. I can pass. Yeah, I can pass a graphics buffer, right? Oh yeah, the graphics buffer. Okay, and then I have to pass the index count. So. Okay, so index buffer, and then the index count. So it's a number of petals again. There's 2 triangles, meaning that there's 6 indices, and 1 instance. So now it's trying to. So this will run, I guess, on all cameras. So we can pass null, no property blocks. We don't want to cast shadows. Unity engine, cast shadows off. Although that would be kind of interesting if they cast shadows. So maybe we'll add that later. And yeah, they can receive shadows. And the layer will just be the same as the renderer. Okay. Before that, we also need to call our compute shader or dispatch it. So that it can update for this frame. Dispatch. Okay, so we need to set this. I'm just going to set to number 1 or -1 because we'll have to figure this out later. Same with the thread group sizes. But yeah, that's all you have to do to dispatch the shader, and you can get the kernel and stuff. But unfortunately, I've got to sign off for now. Sorry we couldn't actually get something to show for this script, but at least we've gotten some work done on it. And so next time we'll work more on this. Well, actually, I don't know. We'll either work on this or do more Substance Designer. If you have, if anybody has like an opinion about what they'd rather see, feel free to let me know. But yeah, I'll put some links in chat if you'd like, if you enjoyed the stream and would like to, I don't know, follow me on YouTube. On my YouTube channel, I do weekly game development tutorials. I might do a condensed version of either of these projects at some point. I also have a Discord server where I try to be there most of the day, so I'd love to chat with you. But I'll be back Wednesday at 9 Eastern and also Friday. So thanks everybody for coming by. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you later. Have a good night. Bye-bye.